You gotta promise not to think any less of me, though. It's pretty brutal, but I had
first thing you're going to need to do is chop 2 yellow onions. I have here some bone broth made from chicken bones, and I forgot to defrost it last night, so I'm just going to heat it up on the stovetop. I make it homemade, and then I leave it in quart-size containers in my freezer to use when needed. After you chop the onions, you'll need to add them to the crock pot. I had to stop for a minute because the onions made me cry. I actually ended up using 3 carrots for this, but I chopped 2 of them at first and then realized that I wanted to use 3, so later I chopped another. I dropped a piece on the floor and guess who got to reap the benefits of that? Hopscotch. She gets to have a carrot or piece of meat as her daily treat anyway. Just a small bite. So she was happy about that. Then you'll just add the carrots and onions to the crock pot. Next, I have a whole pint of baby bella mushrooms. I take the stems off first. Then I take a damp cloth and I wipe the mushrooms down. You don't really want to wash them or submerge them in water because it can make them rubbery. Although I feel like I'm not sure if it matters if you're putting them into a soup or stew. But this is the way I've always done it, so that's how I do it. Just chop them into rough, large chunks and add them into the crock pot with everything else. Just like that. Just giving everything a quick wipe down. Now that the bone broth is finished, add add that into the crock pot as well. And taking several cloves, fresh garlic, and I'm going to chop it very fine and add that in. Fresh garlic really makes everything better. Plus, it's very good for you. Next, I'm going to add in the red wine. About a cup to cup and a half. I apologize for the lighting issues. It was actually very early in the morning when I was making this. And here's some bacon fat that I've saved. And I used 2 tablespoons of that. That small amount actually adds quite a bit of flavor. I like tons of black pepper in mine, but you can put however much you like in yours. This is the roast. I actually browned it in the oven before putting it in, because I think that little bit of browning on the outside of it and edges gives it a really good flavor. This is a beef bouillon paste, and that mixed with some water gives a really good flavor. This is some dried tarragon. I really like to do this with roast beef or beef stews. And here's what it looks like in the crock pot before it's cooked. Now, I used 6 russet potatoes, peeled and diced. Boiled them until tender. Drain them, because we don't want watery potatoes. Getting out all the excess water. I use grass-fed butter. For 6 potatoes, I used a whole stick of butter. A little bit of milk. Use whatever milk you like. 1 raw egg yolk. And when you put the egg yolk in, you'll need to mash it pretty quickly so that it doesn't cook the egg yolk unevenly. And 1 teaspoon of sugar, along with salt and pepper. Sounds odd, but it doesn't make the potatoes sweet, it just brings out the butter flavor. Hello, and welcome. Today I thought I would do a eat dinner with me type of video. I was going to do just the cooking portion and have it be just a
soft-spoken recipe video, but I thought, well, I'll just turn the camera on and do sort of like a chit-chat while I eat. I know some people like that type of thing because it just makes you, like, it's more relaxed, it's not so structured, and it makes you, like, if you want to watch it while you're eating or just watch somebody eat, because sometimes it's fun. So, for those of you that didn't watch the cooking portion and don't know what I have to eat today, I'll go ahead and let you know. I have some mashed potatoes, just regular buttery mashed potatoes, and I have some pot roast. I cooked it in red wine, some homemade bone broth that I make it like in bulk and then keep portions of it in my freezer, and carrots, mushrooms, onions, garlic, a little Dijon mustard, a little bacon fat, and a little bit of tarragon, of course salt and black pepper. And you can read the recipe below in case you don't want to watch the cooking portion, you just want to read it. I'll post it. I'm having it with some mini sweet peppers. I don't know if I'm gonna eat all these, but these are like my favorite thing to eat. I swear I go through so many bags of them. And then I'm having to drink, this is a sparkling water. The brand is, I've never heard anybody pronounce this, so I don't know if I'm doing it correctly, but the Cajun in me wants to say it's La Croix. And I mean, it's got no sugar or anything, it's just a sparkling water, it's unsweetened, and this is the passion fruit flavor. And I have it with some ice and some fresh lime and a spoonful of stevia, powdered stevia. And it's really good. It just tastes like a tropical soda or something. It's really good. I recommend trying it. Okay. That is so good. This type of food is like comfort food, you know? So good. Anytime I make chicken, I keep the bones. I just put them in like a big bag, like a freezer bag. And once I get a couple bags of them, then I make a big pot of bone broth and I freeze it in little quart-size containers so that anytime I'm making soup or stew or roast or anything, I can just pull some out. So good. You gotta try this recipe. So good. I have a cloth napkin. Am I the only one that hates paper napkins? I really hate paper napkins. So I thought, since this is like a casual chat, I would tell y'all a little story about when I was growing up. I was 17 or 18 at the time. You gotta promise not to think any less of me, though. It's pretty brutal. But I had 3 girlfriends with me, so there was 4 of us. 2 of the girls didn't know each other. I mean, okay, 2 of the girls were friends with each other. 1 of the girls did not know the other 2 girls. I introduced her to them that day. And we were all going to the water park, the one that's in Arlington, Texas. And I drove. And the one friend that didn't know the other 2 girls, she had just got off work. She spent the night with her cousin, and she had just got off work. She worked like a double shift, like 2 days in a row. So I think I picked her up from work. And the other 2 girls, I think I picked them up at one of the girls' house. I'm not sure. I don't remember those details, but so we drove to the water park. And when we get there, we're having a good time. And we wanted to ride one ride. And me and the one girl that didn't know the other 2 girls, we wanted to ride one ride. And they were like, oh, well, we want to ride this, so we'll go split. We were like, well, we can wait for you. But they were like, no, we'll split up. It's okay, and then we'll meet back later. Okay, fine. No big deal. So we went and rode our ride. And that day, we all shared a locker because, you know, when you go to those water parks, you have to rent the lockers. And we don't want to waste money, so we're like, okay, we don't have that much stuff. We'll all just share a locker. And after the ride, my friend was like wanting to get a snow cone or something. And she was like, oh, I'll buy you one, you know, since you drove us. I was like, okay. So we went to the locker. She goes into her purse. All her money's gone. And this was like, she had everything she had because I picked her up at work. So she had like her whole weekends of double shifts worth of money. She was a waitress. They were all in ones. She knew exactly how much she had. It was a bunch of, like a big stack of ones. And she brought it with us because she didn't want to leave it in the car. She thought it'd be safer with us. And it was, every single dime was gone. And we were like, how does money get stolen from a locked locker? 2 of us have the key. Us, and then the other girls. What we were thinking is maybe the other girls, when they were getting like their stuff out or something, they accidentally knocked her purse over and the wallet fell, and then somebody walking along would have picked it up, maybe. Stolen the money. So we were thinking, okay, well, let's look at the trash cans around the locker just to see, because, you know, when people try to steal money like that, they usually don't turn in the wallet. They'll just throw it away because they don't want to get caught. And sure enough, the wallet was in the closest trash can to the locker. Of course, the money wasn't in it. And I was thinking, okay, the other two girls aren't with us. I don't want to be, you know, suspicious, but let's just look in their stuff just in case the money's there. If it's not there, I'll feel really bad for suspecting them. But it was there. So the girl that had her money stolen, I had just introduced her to these 2 girls. And it turns out they were the ones that stole her money. In particular, one of them had all the money in her purse. So I don't know if the other one just was just kind of looking the other way and letting her do it, or if they were in on it and going to split the money later. I don't really know. But I like went from 0 to 60 like that. Please keep in mind, I was like 17 or 18. I wasn't the woman I am today. And I saw red. I was furious. And I was like, I can't have this. So we took both the girls' purses, everything out of the locker, locked it back up. Then we took the girl that had the money, we opened her wallet, and we went around to all the bathrooms in the water park and like dropped a driver's license there, dropped a credit card there, and all the tampon dispensers all throughout the park. No way she would ever find. I don't recommend doing something so vengeful, by the way, but I was young. But that's not all. Then, after we did that, I was like, let's just go. I got the car. We got all our stuff. Let's just go. Let's just go home. We'll leave them there. They'll find a way, I'm sure. Keep in mind, where I grew up is about 2 to 2.5 hours north of Dallas and Arlington. And that's where everybody was from. That's where all these girls were from. So we were a good 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on traffic, away from our houses, all of us. And this was before the days of cell phones. Back then, let me see, it was early 2000s, like 2001 or 2. Nobody had a cell phone. I mean, very few people had like a cell phone that they carried around all the time. It just wasn't common like it is now. But the park did have payphones, and they did let people use their payphones. And so we went out to our car, and we were leaving. They come running out, like cussing at us, waving their arms, and my friend rolls down the window and flips them off. I drove like a POS car, beater car. My window didn't roll down, so I had to open my door and flip them off. And I also drove a Standard, and I was pretty new to driving a Standard. You know where I'm going with this. So we get about 30 feet away. My car stalls. And they're running after us. And my friend is like, oh my gosh, we have to drive away. This is the worst getaway ever. I got it started like just in the nick of time. They were like right by the car. And then we drove away. And we got all the way, drove all the way back home, 2 to 2.5 hours. And I guess in that time, one of the girls, she called her grandpa to come pick her up. And he had called my house. And in somewhere in the time that it took me to get home. And my brother answered. And the thing about my brother is he doesn't really pick up on things like facial expressions or body language or things like that. He doesn't always pick up on that. And he kind of takes everything very literal. And so when the grandpa called, he asked for my dad by name. Well, my brother and my dad have the same name. He's my little brother. So I think he was maybe 16, 15 at the time. And he normally, you would know like, okay, he wants to talk to my dad. Not him. So he answers, he says, okay, this is hello. And he has like a real deep voice. Even back when he was a kid, he had a real deep voice. The grandpa just starts cussing him up and down. You left My granddaughter all the way in Arlington at some water park. It's about to close. I'm barely going to get there in time. What is wrong with you? I'm just all going off on him. And my brother also has a bit of a temper sometimes. He doesn't anymore, but back when he was a kid, he did. And he just flips his lid and starts cussing the grandpa out. And the things that he says and the things he calls him. I found all this out when I finally got home. I had to go drop my friend off, and then I finally got home. And I walk in the door, and my dad was like, "What did you do? And why did your little brother have to get his butt chewed out?" So I told him what I did, and I was honest. Of course, I got in trouble. But I gotta say, going back, it was kind of worth getting in trouble. And the girl that the girl that stole the money, we took all her ID and stuff and spread it, we kind of just trashed it, got rid of it. The other girl, we left her purse like completely intact. I just took it for no other reason than to piss her off. I had fully intended on returning it to her later. So that night, after they get back, they call my house just yelling at me. And I was like, "Well, I only have one of your purses, and if you want it, I'll come give it to you, just meet me downtown." And so I had to go meet her downtown, and her grandpa drove. I waved at him and smiled. He was so mad. I gotta say though, what would you do? I mean, I'm not saying I did the right thing, but with like a teenager mindset, if your friend stole from another friend, like all her money, what would you do? Would you be like, "Okay, let's go back. Let me give you a ride back." That would be the most awkward 2 hours ever. I never talked to them again. And the one girl, for like weeks, she kept leaving voicemails on my answering machine. Some of y'all don't even know what that is. But she was like, "I don't know what you did with my wallet. I'm calling the police." I was like, "Calling the police? You stole." And it was one of those, like, we knew she did it because it was like a very specific amount of money. The girl that stole, she worked at Blockbuster. Some of y'all don't know what that is. She worked at Blockbuster, and the other girl I told you was a waitress, and she had a bunch of ones, and she knew exactly how much money she had. The girl that stole it had that exact amount in all ones plus a $20 bill. And she works at Blockbuster. There's no way she would have all those ones in the exact amount. It was pretty obvious that she had stolen it. And my little brother, poor thing, he was ranting the whole night. He had to get cussed out. And he made the grandpa even more mad because he cussed him back. And he thought it was my dad cussing him and calling him all these names. My dad would never do that. I would. My dad would never do that. He's like super patient. What would you guys have done? The right thing to do, looking back, probably would have been to just call the police and let them handle it, make sure the girls get home safely. But when you're a teenager, you don't think about things like that. I was just mad. Of course, I didn't want to hurt him or anything. But I also didn't want to give him a ride home. And the girl that stole, I wanted her to kind of, she tried to throw out my friend's wallet. She would have had to re-get our driver's license, everything. And in Texas, anything to do with paperwork in the DMV is a huge pain in the butt. I've lived all over the country, I can tell you. So I kind of wanted to give her a taste of that. Not saying it was right. I'm just saying that's where my mindset was. My dad was like, there are a lot better ways to handle that. I was like, well, at the time I couldn't think of any. I don't think I would do that again. You're probably going to think I'm a horrible person. I'm so mad though. These sweet peppers are so good if you haven't tried them. They're not hot at all. They're just mini sweet peppers. They're so good. I go through like 2 bags a week. I eat them all the time. I try to serve, like with every meal, I'll put out like a little plate of, like I'll make the dinner, and then I'll put on the center of the table just like a little plate of raw vegetables and obviously raw fruit. Just because you're more likely to eat them if they're sitting right in front of you. And when you're not cooking them, it doesn't take a lot of effort. Just like chop a cucumber, set it out. You're more likely to grab a little bit. Add some veggies to your diet. These things I eat like all the time though. I'll put a few in a bag and take it in my purse. To a movie or something. So good. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish all this. A for effort. They're just so sweet and juicy. Like really refreshing. It was actually my lunch because I made the pot roast last night. So I had it for lunch and dinner. And for breakfast I had I like those Chobani 100s in the like purple thing. course, they're not as healthy as like plain Greek yogurt, but they're not bad. They don't have that much sugar, and they don't have like the Splenda or the aspartame. They're sweetened with stevia, monk fruit, and regular sugar. They don't have too much. They're not too sweet, but they're good. And they have fiber, which yogurt doesn't normally have. Plus, of course, they're a Greek yogurt. They're full of probiotics. Really good for you. And I had 2 eggs, a kiwi, some cherry tomatoes. I think that was it. If you have any kind of digestive issues, immune system issues, even skin issues, a daily yogurt of probiotics does wonders. I also get the Kavita probiotic drinks. I like the lemon cayenne. It's not spicy. You would think it would be because it says cayenne, but it's not. I just get that one because it has less sugar. I think I'm just about full. So good. I think I'm gonna make grilled kebabs for dinner. I think kebabs means something different in other countries. Because I watch the BBC a lot. I watch Secret Eaters, and I watch I don't remember the name of the show, but Super Size versus Super Skinny. You can only find them on YouTube. They don't play them here, but I'm like obsessed with those shows. And I think kebabs over there mean like euros over here. And kebabs over here are like you take chunks of meat and vegetables or anything and put it on a stick and grill it outside on a grill. And I'm going to do some with shrimp, chicken, and I'm going to do a bunch of vegetable kebabs. Like with onion, bell pepper, mushroom, and I'll just keep doing that. I can't remember if I have any cherry tomatoes. If I have cherry tomatoes, I'll put those on there too, but I don't remember if I have any. I don't have time to go to the store. So, and I'm going to grill it outside on the grill with some mesquite. Should be good. So, well, I think I'm finished with my dinner, and if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and I hope you liked it.